France, we begin with JJ. They got the important victory. I had a little wager on this one. Didn't really have too much of a worry because Denmark, to me, even though they equalized at a very important minute in the game, I always kind of knew that France were going to get the job done at the end of the day. Almost to me as if they were in second gear, France. We haven't seen their full potential, but man, they still look pretty good.
They did, but one thing I'd like to point out before sort of getting into the match, if Lloris doesn't make that save at 1-1, we're talking about something totally different here. We're not talking about France winning that game. We're probably talking about France losing to Denmark. That was an absolutely top-class save in an absolutely crucial moment. Denmark, I will start with first. I'll say that like quite a few of the teams at this tournament, they lack a really established goal scorer. Watching Cornelius, trotting around, trying to find the back of the net, and he's going to be, looking for a long time before he scores a goal. I'm really not convinced about, Denmark's chances of going far if he's really the best goal threat that they have. We saw Braithwaite come on. He missed a chance as well. I think Denmark are pretty well set up all over the pitch, bar in attack. We saw Schmeichel turning back the years with a couple of really crucial saves as well. I think Christensen was a lucky boy. I've seen players go off for that. That would have really changed the game completely, just 20 minutes in. But, sort of to the letter of the law, it wasn't quite a clear goal-scoring opportunity.
Yeah, but JJ, no one's catching Mbappe there, right? No one is.
No, they're not. I mean, we've seen it happen before as well with PK. I mean, Christensen is a bit fleeter of foot than PK, but still, it's one of those moments that could change the game. So between that, the Lloris save, I think there were a couple of potential key turning moments. But France, when you have somebody of Mbappe's quality, it's that exchange with Theo Hernandez on the left for the first goal, absolutely fantastic stuff. And then Griezmann as well, seeing him chip in and play a key role for France. I actually thought that he played really well today. Dropped back deep, got involved at times, trying to win the ball back. Took on a really difficult shot in the second half just before France got that opening goal. And I think on another day in better form, maybe he puts that one away as well. But overall, I think France will be absolutely delighted with this. 2 wins from 2. Funny fact, they are the first defending World Cup champions from Europe to not have fallen at the group stage since 1994. That was Germany.
Amazing.
1994. Wow. JJ with his fantastic analysis there, people. Look at that. Amazing. A man who knows France very well. Let's give him a little clap, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think there's much for me to add. I think we discussed this, Ian. We said for me, it's hard to root against France. France could be their own worst enemy. That's it. But the talent that comes.
Well, yeah, because if you're an enemy of the state, you're not going to get your cognac anymore. You've got to be careful with what you're going to say.
The talent that France produce is something that people have to understand. It's just like a never-ending conveyor belt. They really are talented. We're talking about this French side again, without Conte, without Karim Benzema, without Paul Pogba, and look what they're doing. And Denmark are a good team. Denmark are no mugs. Like JJ said, I love Denmark from back to front. Again, like many teams, they're missing that striker. They're missing that difference maker. But when you look at France, Oliver Giroud's having the time of his life, the way he's playing, really enjoying his football. He's really blossoming. But when you got Kylian Mbappe, anything can happen. Because not only can he create goals, but he can also score goals. And he warrants so much attention. And when you give that attention to him, he's not selfish in his play. He brings his teammates into play. And I think for me, France are such a dark horse. It's hard to root against them. And again, their problem would only be within themselves. If they implode with some kind of argument or whatever it is. Denmark.
Yeah, but Nigel, have they surprised you with that though? Because it looks to me like the chemistry's good. They're all playing for one another. They're celebrating in style with one another.
Everything is in line for France right now. I think they are absolutely frightening. They set the standard. Every game, they go after it. They don't try and change for one game to be ultra defensive, and the next game they go for it. They've got their game plan. They believe in their players. They're proactive, playing on the front foot. And like I said, you got Kylian Mbappe, who can make anything happen. And let's not forget Dembele, because for me, Dembele has become the main man at Barcelona, and he's showing his influence in this French team. It's hard to root against France, and I think that for me was a big statement win. Losing to Denmark twice already in the calendar year, and now obviously in the World Cup, there was already hesitations thinking they could lose again, and they got the job done.
Yeah, this was a statement game for this French national team, given their last 2 matches against Denmark. And what I liked about this French national team is kind of giving me a bit of nostalgia about 2018. Do they have the same high-level quality as 2018? Not exactly. But when you look at their front three, each of those players are really having good starts of the season. Mbappe with PSG, Giroud in Serie A, and Dembele at Barcelona. Look at that left side, though. I was having flashbacks to watching Teo Hernandez and Rafa Leao. Teo Hernandez, he will be one of the unsung heroes of this French national team. Another assist from him, the power of the underlap. His ability to pick when he goes out wide, when he comes in, that balance between he and Mbappe. Geez, I'm horrific at pronunciations today. Him and Mbappe, they are just creating some magic on that left-hand side. For the first goal, the ability to hit that reverse pass gives Mbappe just enough space, quality finish to have that composure and the execution inside the foot, the only place he could have hit it. And for the second goal, the timing of the run, that was world class. Antoine Griezmann knows he's going to get the ball from, I think, Kingsley Coman. But when he picks his head up, he's waiting for Mbappe to show him where to put the ball and just the timing of it. Mbappe is playing high caliber stuff at this World Cup.
You caught my attention right there with a comment saying that you didn't think that this was as dynamic or dangerous as 2018. You know, where do you think that they're not on equal level here? And let's
Middle
not forget,
middle of the park.
You don't think that middle of the park right now is as good?
N'Golo Kante and Paul Pogba? Not a chance. That is no. The way there is balance between Rabiot and Nige. I know your mouth just opened, so I know you're going to hammer me for that comment. But N'Golo Kante, what N'Golo Kante did during that tournament, what he was doing in the Premier League, Rabiot and tchouameni are nowhere close to those levels. They have good complement, though. I think that is what you're seeing. That is part of the blueprint from France, 2008. There's a good balance between those midfield too. But N'Golo Kante and Paul Pogba, my word, they were special. They are special.
You know what? I've got a question for you guys, but I'm going to let Nige go first because
I was
going to
say, Mike,
butt in.
I'm going to be quick, JJ. It's just different for me. I think for me, the balance they have now suits this team. That's what it is. It suits this team. It doesn't have to be anything super fancy, anything like that. You got to look at the players they're coming up against, nullifying the threat. The balance they have right now with this team dynamic, with Mbappe taking more of a leading role. Paul Pogba was one of the main. Well, he was the leading role in that French team. Mbappe now stepped up to the mantle play. You got, like we said, oh my God, because Michael just got me so wound up. But I think this balance works. It's different, and I think it works. And I'm with Ian. I think this is just as good right now.
Mm-hmm. I've got a question for you guys as ex-players. So I'm sort of calling on the council of sages, so to speak. We talked about, France sort of being their own worst enemy, or touched on it a couple of minutes ago, how they can potentially defeat themselves. I'm going to come to Ian first, and obviously Mike and Nige jump in if you want. When you get that much misfortune, you see so many players dropping left, right, and center injured. Does that sort of galvanize the team spirit? Because that's what it seems to have done so far for Didier Deschamps' group.
Listen, that's a great point, and I agree with it as well. I think that whenever you have a situation where you're competing in a big competition, or you're competing in a cup run, or you're pushing for promotion, or you're trying to win a championship, and you start to see key players dropping out, you must come together as a group. And this has really surprised me, which is why I asked Nigel. My main concern with France was always going to be, would the team chemistry be there? Would the players start to argue with one another? Would Mbappe start to cause problems in the camp? To me, it seems the opposite. It seems like these injuries, and I throw Nkunku in there as a key player, obviously Benzema as well, but Kante is one that you obviously cannot miss. But I just see this group, the way it is right now, with the mix of youngsters that they have, they are sensational. And the experienced players, who are not very old, by the way, are bringing these youngsters and making them better than I could have ever imagined. What I am seeing from Tchouameni is absolutely sensational. By the way, he is one of the most gifted footballers I think I've ever seen. The way he plays, the way he's casually playing in in a World Cup. To me, it reminds me of someone who's played the game for 20 years. You know what I mean? It's just unbelievable. So yes, I think it's a great comment. And Nigel, I want to get your thoughts on JJ's question, because it's a really important thing.
I think, JJ, for me, the biggest thing, I always say this, with great teams and great situations we see like this, a lot of credit needs to be given to management, because to keep the harmony in the dressing room and to keep the right attitude and the mindset, it starts from the top. When you've got a manager who's in control, knows what he's doing, he can control and handle all of that. I always say, I think and it goes back to my younger days of playing against France. France have always had talented players. They know they're always going to produce talented players. So even when they lose some of these players that we may look like, oh, he's irreplaceable, you have no idea the talent that's coming through and how they're kind of meshed into this team. And I think the togetherness for me is credit to Didier Deschamps, because I'm telling you, I've been in many dressing rooms, experienced many things. When you have a good manager that knows how to manage a dressing room and keep the attitude right, there's never no fear. Everyone goes in, knows what's expected of them, knows what their job is, and applies themselves in the correct manner. Everything just falls into place. And that's what I think of this French team. They're really frightening.
You guys have touched on a lot of it. I really think what I love is just how the richness of talent that this French team has. And sometimes things fall into your lap that you didn't expect. There was a bit of crisis that we were talking about with the injury crisis before this World Cup. But I really think that balance of players who know their roles. In the last World Cup, you had players who were playing on big teams, captains for big teams, and talented players for big teams. But when they got to the FIFA World Cup, as the tournament really progressed, you saw this unified French team and players who accepted different roles. I think the likes of a Blaise Matuidi, who was playing opposition. Matuidi in fine form during that time for Juventus, PSG before, and him playing as really a kind of pocket player in that left wing position, allowing for overlaps from the outside backs. And really, as this France team goes, I'm interested to see what happens with that first real game where they have adversity. The Australia game, it's Australia, but I'm still looking at the knockout phases because they will be one of the favorites right now with how they've played. I'm still looking for that one game when they get tested to see if their medal is still going to be there.